day trip or cross-country tour?
At this point in time, day trip.
Are you a Graham weenie or a kitchen sinker?
Dude, is there something as in between? I think I'm probably a Graham weenie more than a kitchen sinker.
Are you going to wear your riding boots everywhere, or are you going to pack flip-flops?
Oh, no, I'm packing, not flip-flops because my toes are hideous, but we'll go with some camp shoes.
Are you having lunch at Mom's kitchen, or are you just going to grab a Snickers bar?
Nah, dude, I'm having lunch.
Are you read a book or ride in the rain?
I'm riding in the rain, brother.
Hammock or one-man tent?
One-man tent.
Welcome to Moto Adventure Unscripted, a weekly podcast about motorcycles, travels, outdoor, and adventure. I'm your host, Drew Faulkner. Mark is joining me again today, and we are unpacking how to plan a motorcycle trip. From everything about where are you going, what kind of trip is it, what kind of things you should pack, how to save on weight, how to be safe, the whole smash. As usual, we want to hear from you, the listeners. Leave us an email, motoadvr@gmail.com, or put comments here on Spotify. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please do us a favor and leave a review. Wherever you're listening, grab your beverage of choice, turn it up, and we hope you enjoy the show. How to plan a motorcycle trip. So today I want to talk about, first, what kind of trip is it? What kind of trip do you plan on taking? How are you going to go ahead and choose the route? Some packing tips, how to prepare the motorcycle. Couple comments about weight savings techniques, where you should probably eat, how to include some intermediate points of interest, and a little bit of what to do when things go wrong. But first, Mark, let's do mail calls, shall we?
Let's do that, Drew.
Why don't you go first, man?
Okay, I'll go first, man. I'm gonna have to hit up in episode 150, our latest episode drop as of this recording, the 10 motorcyclists you'll meet from Tom Lapham. I guess I'm an Inspector Gadget, but on the cheapskate side of the spectrum, which I can appreciate, and I think Drew can too. I traded and got myself a DR650, which is definitely not a high-tech machine, and have continually added and messed with it to the point where it now includes an Android tablet on a rally tower and TPMS sensors and display on the handlebars and multiple tool tubes to pack everything I could need or anyone else along the way. I figure it's better to have it and not need it than the other way around. I love this comment because this blurs the lines between dual sport and adventure bike, our age-old discussion, dude. Mm-hmm. Like Tom has made his dual sport and adventure bike.
Yep.
He didn't say he had a windshield, but I'd be willing to bet. Tom, let us know. You got a windshield, don't you, dude? I love it, man.
The TPMS is a good comment. We didn't bring that up in the episode. I'm like, oh, that's rock solid, because I actually have one of those. I've not hooked it up yet, so
I want one.
Gus sent us a really long email, and that's what actually drove me to make good notes for mail call this go around. So thanks for that, Gus. It was a fun exchange. I need to summarize it to some. We were going back and forth about the shortcut for multi-bike trap. So when you have two bikes in the garage and you're thinking about changing one, or you're starting to put the second one in the garage, how do you choose? Mm-hmm. To some degree, that discussion blurred a little bit into kind of like what's in your dream garage, because he's got a Road Glide that he considers like his city and his show bike. He's got a Norden 901 that he absolutely loves. That's an Expedition 901 like yours. He's got a BMW K1600 GTL for touring and a CRF 450L. He said he wants to round that out with the dirt bike. So please go back and listen to that episode. To me, it makes sense to have diverse tools in the toolbox. Otherwise, one of those motorcycles will be short-lived for the stable.
That was a fantastic email. Also, I'll have to chime in because Drew forwarded me that email, Gus, and dude, that was like a novella, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So I appreciate the time it took to actually write that out. We got a great one from one of your shortcut episodes, Drew, from your buddy Bill DeVore. Great tips. Take a break. Catch your breath, get your heavy gear and bags off, and that was on the help my adventure motorcycle is stuck and I'm trapped in the woods, which I absolutely love that title because it just help. It makes me laugh.
The actual it was a comment in a group, and somebody actually deleted that comment, and then somebody screenshotted it and sent it to me later. I went, oh, that's what it was, because I was like, somebody like actually recognized what I was talking about. Like, oh, I know exactly what brought this up. So
Gotcha. Nice.
The multi-bike trap episode again. Robert says, I have a Transalp and a 250X. One does all the highways and most of the trails. The other one does all the trails and most of the highways. Perfect. And I like that choice. Nice, good, comfortable adventure bike, and a nice, really sharp dual sport. Covers a lot of the bases. If I didn't own the Scrambler, that's probably what I would have right now.
Yep, no doubt, man. Last one I got, CD Davis 102 commenting on the top 10 reasons to get an adventure motorcycle, episode 148, which has been an awesome episode to kind of watch explode too. It's all about the utility for me. I don't splurge on much, so having a machine that can do it all is key. I'd like to eventually dip into the small adventure class to get more range out of my rides, but for now, dual sport hits the sweet spot. And I'm with you, man, because just the one bike show, these bikes are so versatile, like we've said 1,000 times. It's nice to have a second, third, fourth, fifth, 100th bike, but one bike literally can do almost everything. So I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, so last one here, 149, are dual sport or adventure bikes better? So we pulled Monk the World string here. As he says, I have zero interest in any highway. I have zero interest in any highway on any bike nowadays. Give me the back way scenic route every time. No interest in riding 200 plus miles a day or anything either. I don't get the whole iron butt masochism thing. I think he left out an exclamation point there. Riding across the state to ride off road nowadays, then have to ride back home. And he just got like the emoji, like, no, thank you. We love hauling our dual sports where we're riding and staying, and then, go to have a grocery storage vehicle and, gears and supply and all that other stuff. So he likes to haul the dual sports. So no limits doing it that way. So it makes sense.
Fair enough, man. I like it.
So how to plan your motorcycle trip. For you, just a couple quick comments. What is the biggest difference for you doing a motorcycle trip versus taking a trip in the car?
Oh, well, the number one, dude, there's so many actually, but the number one is packing. I mean, that's for sure number one. In the truck, I just throw stuff in because I've got what seems like unlimited room because I'm so used to packing for motorcycle trips. Yeah. I go pack for a truck trip, and then I look at the truck when I'm done, and I'm like, really? I actually have everything? It doesn't even look like I'm going anywhere. So for me, that's the biggest thing. But there's a lot of considerations. I mean, literally from what time of day I might leave, now at my quote advanced age on the bike, I don't necessarily care if I roll out at, dark still or am riding into the wee hours of the morning in the dark. In the truck, I'll drive straight through, So weather, those are probably, if I'm coming up with stuff quickly, those are probably the biggest things for me.
Yeah, I think the preparation, and then I also think the visceral experience to me makes it addicting. I think once people start doing that, like once you've taken a good motorcycle trip, it's like not necessarily that you don't want to go home, but as soon as you get home, you're already thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely the case there.
Dead on.
I did the overview on the front end. So to me, the first place to start is like, what kind of trip are we talking about here? So in your case, when I say that, like, what are some of the things that you think of when I say like how do we define what kind of trip we're taking? Like, what are the choices here?
Well, I think the two biggest things for me to think of is, are you camping or hoteling it? That's that's going to determine a lot of things. And then are you, riding to? Are you riding from your house, or are you trailering to a place and doing a cloverleaf type of tour, that sort of a situation? Are you doing like a backcountry discovery route where you've got to pick up, your stuff every single night and move to a new location? Those are the things that I'm starting with personally.
Yeah, I'm thinking like it's interesting because I think the process is actually the same. So for me, I'm a long day tripper. Like I get it when you're doing 100 miles. You may not think of it, but I actually think we go through all the same steps. So to me, it really is like, okay, is this just a long day ride? Is this a weekend trip? Like you said, is it a BDR? How much future podcast coming maybe.
Uh-oh.
How much off-road riding do you plan on doing? Because it's going to affect packing and bike prep and stuff like that.
Tire selection.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Do you need an intermediate stop for some of that stuff? But like I said, I
Yeah.
think the whole process is the same once you get beyond that point because you go through the same stuff. It's just you don't spend nearly as much time looking at certain items. Fuel is going to be an issue no matter what you do. Then it's a matter of do I need lodging, or not, and how serious is it? Like if it's one night, it's like whatever, no big deal.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Where are you eating? I mean, are you going to have to tote food around with you, or are you going to be near a Mexican restaurant to get you some tacos, every night or whatever? So,
Yeah, I think and that's it, is the longer the trip goes on, the more that like budgeting becomes something that you really have to think of because
Oh, yeah.
you're not going to think about as much for a day or maybe a weekend. But once it becomes a week, to me, you're going to start doing math on how much am I going to spend on gas, how much am I going to spend on lodging and all that other stuff.
yeah, there's a finite amount of money to be spent on this sort of thing. So, yeah, it's funny, like we would typically go out west every other year. We go out west, and I mean, last time it was like 3 days before the end of the trip, and my brother and I are looking at the money we've spent so far, and we're like,
Oh, yeah.
we need to camp a few more days. we gotta knock this hotel nonsense off for a few days here, and maybe we'll have ramen noodles for lunch today instead of getting a $15 burger somewhere. So yeah, that's something to consider for sure. It's a great point, the budget thing.
Yeah, like I said, it's not as relevant for a weekend thing. But when I did Deals Gap all the time, it really was a budget thing. Like, okay, like how much cash do I need to pack to spend on fun stuff and raffle prizes and that other stuff? And then what am I going to eat on? And how many nights are we actually going to eat out?
Yep.
And I started bringing breakfast with me, which is a whole other packing discussion, right?
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. They're all those things are there to consider.
Something else. If once the trip starts to get bigger, to me, I think you start thinking about how many miles do you really want to ride in a given day, and even if you're doing a day trip like I normally do, that number is either determined by the number of stops I plan on making or how far I'm going, which then dictates how many stops I have to make, and that's really what starts breaking up like how long are each of these legs going to be in a given day. And,
Yep.
I also feel like depending on where you're going and how long you're riding, that number actually goes down, not up.
Yeah, that can be true for sure. I often find that we just keep on going and going and going, and then like the last like day or two, we kind of look at, I'll just use going out west as an example again. We kind of go, oh, look, we left our truck in Colorado Springs. We're in Moab somehow. We have 1 day to get back,
Yeah.
and it's like we're gonna make that happen somehow, So you got to keep track where you are a little bit, which I'm not that great at. I tend to drift and wander, as you know. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, we got to make some arrangements here to start heading back.
Yeah, to me, I think of it like it's nothing for me to do 500 miles in a day and come home. It's no big deal. But to do 500 miles every single day, all the time, for most people
Yep.
is a lot.
Yeah.
So a couple hundred miles a day, not a big deal. But yeah,
Yep.
to do 500 a day in a day out is pretty rough.
Well, you're on a trip. I mean, a couple hundred miles gives you time to get off and check out that waterfall or go check out that restaurant that some local told you about when you were pumping gas or, whatever the case may be. I mean, you're on a trip, like, get off the bike a minute or two at certain points and take a picture of that glacier or that sunset or that awesome road or whatever. I mean, yeah, I would plan on if you think you're going to do 500 miles, you're probably going to do 400 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're just one of those like archetypes we were talking about where you're the road warrior and you're just going there to put on miles, by God, that's not how I'm rolling. So,
yeah. And the other thing that goes with that's a good tie-in. I'm glad you said that. I'm usually, when I'm by myself, I'm pretty tight on whatever I have planned is almost always what I actually get out of it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like I've figured out enough time. I know what my schedule is. But when you ride with other people, to me, that's really when that starts to change. That it's real easy to get unrealistic goals on that. And so to me, mileage, budget, all this stuff, all that dynamic changes when you start talking about, are you taking, just you and a buddy? Are you taking a group of friends? Like, are you going to let people join the group? All that stuff.
Oh, the more people, the more convoluted that whole program begin, and that can end friendships, man. Honestly.
I've heard a few stories
Yep.
for sure. You touched on it earlier about weather. I also think season
Yeah.
is something to consider. I don't spend much time out west, obviously, but I do think of places like Cherry Skyway, Blue Ridge Mountain, Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yep.
Because depending on what season it is significantly cold at elevation, which creates a whole new clothing, packing, comfort argument. Maybe even road closed situation.
Yeah, dude. There's times where, I mean, Tellico Plains, people don't realize it's lower in elevation than Atlanta is. I mean, it's so hot, I don't even go there in the summer. But you get up on the Cherry Skyway, and there'll be legit snow on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy how a few thousand feet can add up that quick, but it happens.
As an aside, obviously I ride in Red River Gorge a lot and wanted to do that for my birthday back in February this year, and I couldn't because they close the access roads in the wintertime.
Really?
And there's no schedule to it as well. You just kind of know that sometime, usually in December, sometimes January 1st, and then they open sometime in March, which just happened a couple days ago.
Yep.
So road closures on federal land is another thing that if you're planning on going to this place, and depending on what the season is, they may shut it down.
Oh yeah, the Chattahoochee BDRX and the Southeast BDR. I'm in both of those groups down here in this area, and people have been complaining all winter about, or giving updates like, hey, this road was closed, this gate was shut, and it's like, yeah, dude, they shut them every year for the freeze-thaw cycle.
Yeah.
Like, it's not news, it happens. So you do need to consult some local resources, which we can talk about at some point, I guess. But
that's actually going to be a big challenge. Like, as an aside, that's going to be a big issue for the Southeast BDR because you're going to get people
a huge issue for them.
Like us folks from Ohio and Michigan are going to go like, wow, it's warm in Alabama. Let's go down there. And then they're going to be down there and they're going to be pissed because they have the same closure issues that we have up here.
But that's on them because it's literally listed on the website, the BDR website. Like, they're closed seasonally from whatever it is, December to April 1. I mean, they're still. It's pollen season here. I'm looking out my window, there's flowers and leaves, and I've had yellow boots for like a week and a half because of the freaking pollen down here. But there are still gates that are shut for the season. They'll be open in the next week or two.
Right.
But yeah, it's a thing, man.
The pollinating, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's defining to some degree what some of the things are to think about in the planning stage when you start dreaming up what you want to do. So next I've got route planning and navigation.
Ooh, yeah.
And some comments on here about like what different tools you want to use to actually plan the route, and then some of the navigation tools. So I guess the first thing was like when you start to plan a trip, do you just put a destination on a map and work backwards? Like, how do you do that? And then what software / tools do you typically use?
I almost always start with Google Maps because it's super easy, intuitive. Everybody has it. Just to get an idea, like I'll go, okay, if I'm going to, the Upper Peninsula, say I'm going to Sault Ste. Marie and I'm starting in Atlanta, I'll connect those points and just see what Google Maps tells me I should do. And then I'll go, okay, let's, play around and see what's interesting along the way. Gazetteers, though, are my best friend. So the Delorme Gazetteer is a big red, I forget, it's like an 18 by 24 book that has the entire state. They sell it state by state.
Huh.
And have you seen these?
No, you said that word and I was like making a funny face. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, dude. Okay, I'm going to have to snag one of these and we'll put a link to it somewhere. But the Gazetteer, Delorme makes them. And, they update them every once in a while. But the best thing about it is they're big. So, I mean, if you're going to take it with you on the trip, which I have done, you got to have some space for it. But you open it up and it shows you every road in the state. and it'll tell you, this is a dirt road, this is a county road, whatever. It has icons for swamps, lakes, the whole thing. It's incredible. And so I'll break out those gazetteers when I want to start looking on paper. Okay, I'm going to try to connect these 2 points, and what can I do? So that's almost always the first place I go. Google Maps, gazetteer. I'm getting you gazetteers for your birthday, dude. You're gonna love these. They're about $20 a pop, so $20 per state. It's a good investment.
Yeah, I'm not going to get upset about that for everything south of me until at least Tennessee, maybe further.
Oh yeah, dude, they're phenomenal. I've got I think I have 20 or maybe 25 of these things. So yeah, they're pretty rad. Everybody has their favorite planning app as far as navigation and all that. Here lately, I've been doing everything on my DMD device. I actually have yet to take a what I would consider a trip since I bought the DMD device. So that'll be the next challenge for that. But that's pretty much how I start this stuff. I consult local forums. I'll go to a group on Facebook or maybe a regional forum on adventurerider.com and join up with the members of those groups and poke around, ask people, hey, I'm thinking about coming to this area. What should I not miss? What road should I hit? And people, dude, they might not tell you their top secret shit, but they are going to give you some pretty good, things to go check out. Go check out Bishop's Castle in Colorado, or go make sure you take Route, 21 in Michigan, or whatever the case may be. So, trying to network a little bit, and talk to some people that actually live there is a way to go.
I like it. Yeah, I was gonna talk about some more of that in the next point. So we'll definitely circle back to that here in a few.
Man.
I think you and I look at that mostly the same. That to me, it's if I've decided, what is it, Pilot Knob or something like that. I forget what the name of it. There's an overlook on the Kentucky border. We talked about it in a different show. And I looked at them okay, I want to go there. Yep. So it is very much what's the intermediate stuff, that's on the way. And it might be Google Maps, but for me, and we've talked about before, Rever, Butler Maps. I'm going to throw that stuff up there, and then I'm going to make most of the choices that way.
Butler Maps are fantastic. Those maps just have so much detail, and even if you don't take their labeled, color-coded roads or whatever, they're phenomenal maps. I think we both are map junkie enough to appreciate the work that's gone into that.
I think the other point that I want to add in there is backcountry byways to some degree. And I mean that not necessarily the official BDR, but if you're going somewhere and you're in the adventure space or dual sport space, it makes sense to look up, are there local KAT, the GOAT, Danny Boone Backcountry Byway, BDR routes, there's, the Southern Ohio Adventure Loop. There's all this stuff that's nearby. So at least you get a chance to maybe duck over and get a flavor. If you can't stay on it all day, it's still something worth looking up. And then, like you said, that leads into the next point, which we'll get to in a second about, how to get connected with people in that area.
I like to look for routes that say old Route 9 or old Route 57 or something like that. And you may jump on and off. Man, it's hard. A lot of times I'll be on the fly looking through. That's why I like the DMD, because I got a joystick on my thumb. I'll be on a main road and we're on a trip. I've never been there before, but I'm scrolling around looking for something else because I'm bored, and we'll jump on something else. And I know where I got to go. I'll go, okay, I got to go from A to B. This sucks right now, so that looks cool. Let's go that way. Sometimes you just got to adjust on the fly.
I'm laughing to myself inside baseball that the one time you and I rode together up here, that legit happened. And I wasn't scrolling around on a map. I forget how we even did that. But it was ironic.
You just did it by accident.
I was like, you know what? We're going over here. I'm gonna see what
dude, that's fine with me.
You talked about maps for offline navigation stuff besides paper maps. Are there other things that you do?
No.
That's the world's longest
I know. I was trying to think. I'm like, wait, hang on now. I Google Maps. I gazetteer. Dude. Clearly, we're map junkies. You know what I do when I do go on road trips, in the car on the interstate? I always stop at welcome centers and I pick up those free maps that welcome
Yeah.
centers give out. I've got a drawer full of them literally right there
Yeah.
behind me. And, that helps give the big picture too. Because you're not going to you're not going to see a lot of little roads on there, but I will consult those free, state maps. I also go to the welcome center and pick out brochures. Like I will spend 10 or 15 minutes there every time and go, oh, look at that, the world's largest, thing of earwax or whatever. Like I may have to check that out sometime. So I've got a little, library card, like a Dewey Decimal System of drawers behind
That's
me.
intense.
Dude, totally. I have it region by region, and I collect crap as I go through my journeys over the years, and I just throw it in the drawer. And I may or may not ever see that giant ball of wax, but I might.
It's ironic. This is the generational difference between the two of us. I think
Is
this
it?
is the first time that I can ever remember that happening. Yeah, because to me that feels like a tourist trap, and I'm like, no.
Oh, it's a tourist trap, dude. But it's sometimes that stuff, man, it's becoming Americana, right? Like
Yeah.
you may or may not know this. It's in Kentucky, but when I come back from Louisville, and it's north of I think it's north of Cave City and Bowling Green. There's this dinosaur exhibit. Like they have fossils and stuff there. And on the side of the road, there's like this giant T-Rex statue. And I'm like, for years, I just drove past this thing. And then one year, my brother and I were on a trip and we stopped there and we got pictures of our bikes next to this giant freaking T-Rex. I've passed 8,000 times. Did
Did you stop at Rock City? I mean, you passed that on the way home.
you know what's funny? I've never been to Rock City.
wow.
I
I've
know.
been to Rock
I know.
City. How about
it's
that?
on my list. I want to bring my kid there, dude. Shout out Sugar's Ribs in Chattanooga, though. That place is bomb. But
This was back when I was in the 80s when I was a little kid that we were there.
it probably
I don't
hasn't
remember.
changed much, dude. See, I
doubt
love
it.
places like that. It hasn't changed since the 80s. It's yeah, I don't know, man. I'm weird like that. 100%. Drew's reeling me in. That's all right, dude. I don't care. I own it, man. I love it. I am halfway Clark Griswold. Like, let's just throw it out there.
That's hilarious. I see him flipping the bird and everything.
Yeah, man.
I think both of us are generally in this space that I like to have two navigation devices purely because dumb stuff happens. That's not necessarily a requirement, but to me, I've found that if your phone gets goofed up or it gets wet or it starts raining, you have that issue. And then obviously finding unplanned stuff on a GPS tends to be a pain in the ass. So having one of both.
Well, the phone is so intuitive because you use it every day, right? So
Yep.
that's just so commonplace that it's like, oh man, if I need to find a McDonald's, I'll just pull out my phone and look it up because it's way too cumbersome to do on any GPS,
100%.
right? Yeah.
You talked about paper maps, and then most importantly, if you're going to use a phone, you probably need to budget to buy offline maps from whoever your navigation device,
Yep.
or app of choice is. Obviously,
Yep.
we've talked on the show, Rever, Gaia, Onyx, Scenic. There's several out there, but definitely, and double check how to do that because it's different on each of them. And you can't take it for granted, and there's limitations to either size or number of locations. So you need to make sure that you have it in the places you need it. And there's probably an entire podcast about that already.
I feel like this is where Drew needs to go. Know now.
Yeah, that's completely accurate. Do you worry about planning for like fatigue issues, like having ridden too long, crazy weather stuff, or anything like that?
I don't, man. I honestly don't. That is probably not the wise choice to go. This is a little bit of a hard episode for me because I do plan a trip. Like if I'm going on a week-long trip, I do generally plan we're going to go this general direction. But I really don't lay out I'm going on this road and that road and this road and that road, and I don't make I generally don't. I have, but I generally don't make reservations at hotels or campsites or any of that crap along the way. Maybe like when I'm an hour out from somewhere, I'll try to make a reservation somewhere. So for me, I'm like, if I get tired, guess what, dude? I'm going to just stop for the day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to find somewhere cool. If I'm camping, Dude, I do not like setting up camp at night. It's the
Yeah.
worst. You don't know what you're getting into. There's 8,000 reasons why you should not pick a campsite at night if you can avoid it, which we can talk about if you want to. But to me, when I get tired, I know myself enough to know, okay, we're getting a little tired here. We went to Upper Peninsula, me, my dad, and my brother a couple years ago. My dad wanted to basically ride 100 miles and then stop for the day because that's when he was tired, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But I was ready to keep going, So it's different when you're with a group of people. You kind of have to give in to the guy. Look, if you're with 3 people and 2 of you want to keep going and 1 of you is too tired to keep going,
Yep.
you really have to yield to the guy that wants to stop. And you have to suck it up. And maybe you go, okay, we're stopping for, the day, but it's only 2 or 3 o'clock and we're going to go do a cloverleaf loop and come back and we'll hook up back up with you later today. But, you can't put people in those sorts of positions. Does that make sense?
No, that was exactly what I was kind of alluding to is, and I'm glad you brought up because I should have said on the front end. For some people, the plan is go west, just pack all the stuff and go west, or go
Yeah.
south and just figure it out. And that's the fun for them. It's not planning on the front end; it's making a plan as it's needed,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
totally your jam.
Oh, that's 100% what I
Yeah.
want to do. Yep. Yep. I know when I got to go and I know what day I need to be there and pretty much everything else. Dude, there was a year where we went to Colorado and we just ended up going to Utah. Like, I wasn't planning on going to Utah. I mean, 2 years ago, we ended up going and riding a portion of the Wyoming BDR. I wasn't planning on going to Wyoming. We were that close on the map. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's only an inch away. Let's go. What could go wrong? So it's tough to sit here and talk about everything you need to do to plan a trip.
Sure.
But I've also done it this way many times too. So, most people don't do it the way I do it.
Yeah. No, you and Jeff, I think, are both that way, and that makes sense. Some of the other things I wanted to mention was if you're in a group, like you said, and especially if these are people who don't put in a lot of miles or that you've not ridden with a lot, to me, if you do too many technical roads in a row, you'll wear people out mentally.
Yeah.
They get mentally exhausted and they just want to quit. And yeah, and if you push them too far, even though the roads aren't quote hard,
Yeah.
you push them too far, you're gonna have some angry people in your party.
Mutiny.
Yeah, and then the other side of that is like bad weather or like windy weather. If you're in really
Yeah.
nasty wind, I always think of like I-70 headed west. Like at some point, you're just in a misery. And if it's a rough day, it's the same experience. That it wasn't that the roads were difficult; it's just wearing you out. It's being exhausting, and so people are not going to want to run nearly as far.
Yep. Yep. Those are all true things, man. Getting started at what time of day, what time are we going to end? Those are
Yeah.
considerations you have to make when you're talking to your friends about that sort of thing. I know a lot of people that ride motorcycles. If I wanted to go ride tomorrow, I could call any number of people and like, hey, you want to go ride? Dude, I could put on one hand the amount of people I want to go on a week-long trip with. You know what I mean? That's something you learn over time.
It's an investment for sure.
Yep.
Do you plan fuel stops or do you wing it?
What do you think I do?
Okay. All right. I plan gas station to gas station.
Yeah.
Like all my routes are set up that way that I know that in a specific spot there is a gas station or the track literally ends at a gas station.
Yep.
And then the other end of that is like if you're going to plan stops, plan them an hour to 2 hour apart. That works for me, right? Like for
Yeah.
me to go 120 miles to a tank-ish means I get to stop every 2 hours. No big deal.
To me, that greatly depends on where you're going to be, right? Like, I put on my 950 Adventure, the first 2 times we went out west, I put a Rotopax on the back of my bike, a gallon. I never used it, so I stopped bringing it, And, I know that you can get out there and end up needing it, but if I'm at 100 miles on my tank and I pass a gas station, I pretty much am going to stop when I'm on a trip.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm ready to get off and jabber my jaw to some local, and you know how it goes. Have an RC
Yes.
cola and a moon pie and all that stuff. So, no, it's I think. Look, if you're doing like the Dalton Highway or something, like you
Yeah.
better plan your freaking gas
Sure.
stops. You know what I mean? But I've never been that remote to where I felt like, dude, on the East Coast, there's literally so many gas stations. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's exactly the case. And to me, that was kind of my next point is flexibility versus over planning. And
Yeah.
thus far, this is completely shaped up that you and I are on either side of this thing. For me,
It's interesting.
knowing the gas stops means I know how far through the trip I am, and I can tell by the time if am I still on time, or do
Yeah.
I need to cut sections out and whatnot, because it's just like, wow, we haven't made it to this gas station yet. Like, we're not going to make it today, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's a way I keep pace there. And then, like you said, you guys have picked a direction or picked no direction at all, and you pick up the tertiary destinations from your random reconnaissance at the.
Well, that can be a
what'd you call
problem
that?
too, because if you're gonna pick up the tertiary roads, and just wing it a little bit, dude, it's easy to not make any actual
Yeah.
distance. Like, you'll ride 8 hours, you're like, oh, I moved 50 feet. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yep.
you have to balance that. Like, you do have to monitor. Okay, we really wanted to get 200 miles away from the point we were at today, and Flux has been leading us down every little nook and cranny. Like, we've got to stop this. We got to put an end to this idiocy and
Yeah.
actually get going here. So there's a balancing act.
Yeah, that's it. Not surprisingly, you and I are like seriously hammering the navigation side. We touched on this, so the next point I want to talk about is finding intermediate sightseeing stops.
Oh yeah.
So if you've only picked one particular place that you want to go, and then you want to add other stuff to it, how do you find that? So you mentioned some. What else you got here? Or you can even circle back to that.
Yeah, it's I think it's more of a circle back to it, to be honest with you. For me, it's getting in some of the local groups, before we go. Making a post in a Facebook group or on an adventure rider type of forum. Hey guys, we're going to be, we're from Atlanta, we're coming from here, we're going this way. What do we not want to miss? Like, give me something. People are happy to talk about it, you know. That's generally how I found some pretty good stuff. And then talk to your friends that have been up to that area. Like, your actual friends. They're gonna know tons of great stuff too. I mean, who doesn't? Anybody going to Colorado, for example, people that have been riding in Colorado, right? Like, we're all gonna go, oh yeah, dude, you got to check that out, or don't worry about that. That's not as big a deal as everybody says it is. So. Yeah, I think those are the biggest ways that I do it.
No, I really like that. And that's like we said, if you're thinking about parts of backcountry discovery routes of any type, or I should say backcountry routes of any type, any of these ADV rides or whatnot, definitely go check out those groups to make sure you're getting the best section or anything to catch on the little bit of the section you're going to be on. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm an official high pointer, but I'm the kind of person that likes to do that. So if I'm on a trip to go somewhere and I realize that I'm going to pass the highest point in whatever, the highest point on Blue Ridge Parkway, the highest point on Cherry Hill Skyway, whatever it is, I want to make sure I stop at those places. So I'm going to put pins in the map just because there's usually a good overlook. It's a neat place to take a picture. It's an experience. A lot of them now are getting observatories and stuff. So I'm super into that.
I like fire towers. If I'm looking at a gazetteer, that's the other good thing about the gazetteer. They'll show you where the fire towers are. And look, most of them you can't go up anymore. Yeah. But there are some that, you can definitely go up. And those things are all, dude, if I pass a fire tower, I'm going up into it. That's all there is to it, dude.
Yeah. In both cases, to me, if there's something worth seeing, like I think of like Carter Caves off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You can just ride through there and see a lot, but there's also several places where it's like you could just stop the bike and you can take a very short walk, like not even like half a mile or less easily. Eat a snack, drink some water, see some cool sights, take some pictures, and get back on the bike. And those are my favorite things for like lunch and stuff like that. It's like where's an out of the way place where I'm not near anyone else, where I can be on some remotely scenic road or something. So when I decide to stop, I don't hear anything and I can just have a snack. Yeah, so those are my favorite intermediate stop locations.
What is that place that I stopped at on the way back from Red River Scramble last year that had the moon rainbow?
Cumberland Falls.
Cumberland Falls, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like anytime there's like a river, like a lake, you see something amazing like that, like that's the kind of place you stop. And it had a little cafe, like we had a little breakfast, a little cup of coffee, you know. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for when I'm looking at the gazetteers and the maps, like, okay, I need to connect these points that I see. You know, I see that place on there, I see the dinosaur place, I see this, and I see that, and pretty soon the route starts to present itself.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%. And I think the other thing to throw in there is like historic towns or like ghost towns, especially if you have any opportunity to go to places where there used to be a town and there's not now. I think that's always fun.
Yeah.
A lot of the coal towns in southern Kentucky to me are really interesting. There's the coal museum down there. We talked about that on a show already.
Yep.
And then motorcycle museums. I always think of Maggie Valley. I cannot think of the name of that motorcycle museum. Wheels of Time.
Wheels Through Time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and obviously people think Barber. We've done a whole episode on that, but those are the kinds of things. I'm trying to think if there are. There's a website / Facebook page, something called Only in Your State.
Oh yeah.
It drives me crazy that they're exposing all my favorite secret locations in Kentucky that are definitely not secret anymore. However, yeah, that's a good resource that
Yep.
you can
That's a
find
cool
some
website.
it's not bad. There are times where I read it and I'm like, there's no way no one has ever heard of that before. But some of it's pretty good stuff.
It's a pretty archaic website, if I remember, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just used to seeing the Facebook posts and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Looks like an Angel Fire website or something, you know?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely that. So,
cool.
Anything else about intermediate stops before we move on?
No, not that I can think of, man.
So next I have essential tools and repair kit. We have done a full episode on this, but I figured I would ask you, what do you think the primary things are that we need to make sure we mention in this episode?
Well, I think that you have to have your everyday toolkit. That's 100% for sure, but you need to have some add-ons, right? So this is going to be bike specific. On the KTM 1090, I carried a freaking fuel pump with me where I went on a trip. You know, even though I had tubeless wheels, guess what I carried, Drew? Inner tubes. 100% I carried tubes. And by the way, the tire irons to change the tubes. So, you know, there are things that you want to bring with you that you don't normally need to carry because you don't want to be in East Bumble in the middle of nowhere stuck with a freaking slash on your tire that you can't fix with plugs, you know. First aid kits.
That's a good one.
You know, sunscreen. I mean, there's a whole slew of things. Dude, I don't normally ride with a tank bag, but on a trip I will.
Yeah.
And it's going to have things like hand sanitizer, sunscreen, you know, I always have a knife in my pocket because I'm
to some degree that's the next section I want to talk about packing because I have more personal items in this case. Like you said, you were nailing it with tools and stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, that's I mean, for as far as tools go though, I mean, I think that's really what you need to consider. Have your everyday kit. That you should have an everyday kit. If you don't, go back and listen to our toolkit episode.
I was gonna say, there's a pretty good episode on that.
Very thorough one. Yes, for sure.
I agree with you. Some bikes come with a stock toolkit, not too bad. And then obviously we've had a whole episode about toolkits. Tires, flat tire is my number one concern on the road for the most part. It's the most likely thing to happen to me. Don't forget you need some kind of air compressor, CO2 cartridges, something.
Yep.
I think fuses is probably a smart one. Electrical tape and zip ties. You said first aid kit already. I think chain lube isn't necessary, but it's kind of smart. They sell the little cans of WD-40 at certain gas stations.
Never brought it with me on any trip ever.
I don't.
But I know some people are pretty anal about it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And then we could put this in the packing section, but I think a small flashlight or headlamp is probably something good to keep on the bike as like / toolkit, so to speak, in case you do have to fix that crap in the dark.
I will bring a travel chain press with me and a spare link with me as well on a trip. That's not something I normally carry. But
you sure you're not the kitchen sinker? Because you sound like the kitchen sinker, even though
I'm the kitchen sinker when it comes to the toolkit. Yeah, 100%, dude. When I want to be self-sufficient. I have been in the situation sitting on the side of the
Yeah.
road in the middle of Utah, waiting for my brother to ride 100 miles to Grand Junction to get a U-Haul truck to bring back to fetch me because my clutch burnt
Yep.
out. So I will do everything I can, although that was one of the most dramatic sunsets I've ever seen in my life. I will do everything I can to avoid that situation again. So yes, I will bring a spare steel in from the clutch pack
Yeah.
with me on a trip so that if that clutch fails again, I can take the clutch apart, shove a steel disc in there, and at least get on,
Yeah. That's
underway
intense.
again. It is intense, but once it happens,
Yeah.
you're
No,
like, nah.
we've talked about it. I think the last thing we want to mention here is emergency roadside contact info or some kind of way to reach people in an emergency. That's probably
Yep.
not a bad place to throw out like spot device. Now Apple has satellite stuff. Like, so there's more options there, but in a last ditch effort, depending on where you are, how can you get help? So you at least need that.
Garmin just came out with the Mini 3 thing. I don't know much about it, but I know they just came out with it.
Yeah, it's in our realm. It's definitely becoming more and more popular. So Garmin InReach, I think, and I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
InReach
that's what
Mini.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about. I just
okay.
couldn't remember the name of it. Yep.
Now, podcast brain is a real thing.
It is.
So moving on from tools and repair kit to packing smart. And so
boy.
I'm gonna talk. Let's do this in a couple different sections here. Let's talk about like packing clothing, packing toiletries, and the last thing here because I don't have my
Electronics.
Sorry, yes, electronics. Thank you. So,
Yep.
do you want to do clothing? Yeah, let's just do clothing first. So, as far
Yeah.
as packing clothes, how do you handle that?
Dude, for a week-long trip, I'm pretty much okay. Maybe I am the kitchen sinker. I gotta have fresh socks, and I gotta have fresh underwear, and I gotta have fresh shirts. I can't stand wearing the same funky crap every day on a trip. Now, I also know that you can buy a t-shirt, a souvenir t-shirt along the way, and you probably will. So I pack, if I'm gone for 7 days, I'll pack 3 shirts, 3 underwear, 3 socks. I like merino wool because of a lot of reasons, but it's pretty temperature variable. It's easy to wash. It dries quick. And if you do, like I will wear the same shirt 2 days in a row, it doesn't hold the funk in like a synthetic shirt will. So I'll have merino wool shirts, merino wool underwear, merino wool socks. That's almost exclusively what I'll wear as far as that stuff goes. 1 pair of jeans, 1 pair of shorts. That's
Yeah,
it.
we're pretty similar in that way. I almost always have like, yeah, just a pair of like it's almost like swimming trunks, like running shorts or
Yes,
something like
very
that.
lightweight.
Yeah, flip flops or I like Vibram 5 fingers, so I bought those specifically for trips. So I have like regular shoes, but you can literally like wad them up and throw them
Yeah.
in something so they don't take up
You
any
got a
space.
flat pack shoes. My brother and I
Yeah.
used to use Chuck Taylor Converse all the time because
Yeah.
they pack up to nothing. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you destroy them.
I actually lead. I should have said this. I lead with rain gear because I feel like it's something that everyone's going to bring, but they start packing everything in their bag in their room or whatever it is, and then they get out to the bike and stuffed everything in it, and then they grab their rain gear and they go, "Oh crap, where do I put this?" That's also twofold. Rain gear is also thermal gear depending on the season. So you can pack a thermal and rain gear when it's cold, but to some degree, if it's only a little chilly, you can get away with just using the rain gear as a way to stay warm instead of packing the extra base layer /
Yeah.
thermal. So
Yeah.
that's something to think about.
Rain gear should be the last thing you pack, though. You want it at the top of your luggage.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So, like, you do want to plan for the space to have it, though. And yes, redundancy is not the right name here. You want things that serve 2 jobs
Yeah.
when possible, right? So, rain gear is a windbreaker, just like you said. Can you wear it off the bike? That's a bonus. If you can go
Yeah.
into town and put on your rain gear and wear it as a regular jacket or what have you, that's a bonus because now you don't have to carry like a casual jacket or like a hoodie or what have you. You just wear your rain gear and it's fine. It's a big space saver.
Yeah, if it's summertime, I'll usually do a couple microfiber shirts, and depending on what kind of trip it is, like I don't care if they're funky when I'm riding, but I'm with you. I want a clean shirt after I finally get a shower, wherever that's going to be.
Yeah.
If I have my way about it, I usually try to do as many like breathable shirts, and then I put on a fresh one at night, and then I just ride in that the next day.
Yeah, I do that often as well. Yeah, that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I tend to do what you do: shirts, underwear, socks for the most part. But I'm less picky about socks. I might have a couple nice pairs, and then just deal with gross pairs while I'm on the bike. Because at some point, once your boots are wet, there's no way around it. And you're not packing the boot dryer on most trips if you're doing motorcycle only. Again, dude, for people who are trailering or whatever else, yes, pack a boot dryer. Put that on your list. You'll thank yourself later.
You know, a while back when we talked about boot dryers, somebody sent a link to 2 little discs that were little boot dryers, and I still have not bought those, but I am going to, and they will go with me on my next trip. So
if I can fashion an SAE connector to my bike and put the boot dryers down in my boots, absolutely, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, dude. Yep. You need a luxury. Like you need a luxury item, which maybe I'm skipping ahead, but some luxury item, whether that's gonna be, you can consider that your chair, a pillow, whatever. I'm jumping ahead, but yeah, there needs to be a luxury.
Yep, chairs, that is not personal clothing, but I don't think it's necessarily in this spot. But the chair makes a lot of sense because that was it, is I had a little, oh man, I can't even think what you call those tiny little folding chairs, like Rhinox or something. I forget the name of it.
Oh, everybody makes one now.
Yeah, there was something to it, but they're really tiny, right? Like it packed down to, 3-inch circle and, 14 inches long or something like that. And I would strap that on the back of the dual sport so I could at least have a place to sit down.
I'll take a chair.
Yeah, it's nice to just lounge around the fire if you get the chance.
Sitting on a log. I'll just sit on a log. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. No, I've been sitting on a goddamn Husqvarna seat all day. I'm going to sit on a dang chair when I get to camp.
Yeah, log is okay, but in these parts lately, especially like right now, they're all soaked.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I don't want to sit I finally got a shower. I'm not sitting on the campground. That's why
Agree.
Yeah, so we talked casual wear. We mentioned base layers to some degree. There's a whole thread you can go down about whether or not you should wear like microfiber long johns with what you're in, and people talk about different strategies for that. I'm on both sides of the fence there.
Yeah.
And we mentioned flip-flops and stuff in the beginning. My splurge is having like actual shoes.
I can't stand flip-flops. I think they're the worst thing ever for camping.
Agreed. It was just one of those, like, for a long time I was like the walk around in my motorcycle boots and shorts thing. Like that was like,
That's
I have to save
too.
space, and it's awful. And so now it's like, all right, I will find a pair of shoes. So I talked about it, but it's like, hey, think about this. You may thank yourself later for flip-flops or something.
The only sandal that I would ever consider otherwise would be, I think you need heel support. Like, I don't know about you, but like I might go off walking around somewhere, like trying to go anywhere in flip-flops. Besides the fact, like I joked about in the quick shifter, my feet are gnarly and I don't want to subject anybody to that. But I don't want to go walking off into the woods in flip-flops.
No, there's that.
Or chopping wood in flip-flops. Like, that's just silly.
Nope, definitely that. So toiletries.
Yeah.
What do you pack on a trip for washing your bum?
I go to Walmart or wherever, and I go to the they don't call it travel. What do they call that? Trial size.
Oh yeah,
section right over in the.
It is funny how it's not the
area.
travel section anymore. It's really
I don't
weird.
know why. Yeah, they call it trial size or something. But dude, a little thing of deodorant, a little bitty thing, And actually now I've started buying little tubes and filling up my regular like soap, my regular. Not that I have shampoo, but your shampoo,
body wash.
Yeah, body wash, my Axe body spray.
It's masculine to do that now.
Totally, dude. So I'll pack that stuff up in a little. I have one of those toiletry bags that folds out into 3 sections and has a hook on it, so I can hang it up on a tree or a shower stall, or it's got to hang. Like those I think they call them DOP bags or whatever, like an old, like it's just like a bag with one zipper across the middle. Those are the worst for motorcycle travel, because so many places, like if you stay in one of these little camping cabins like a KOA or whatever, there's limited like countertop space. So something with a hook on it that you can put over a bar or a towel rack or something like that. Yeah, man, it's that's where I have a little toothbrush, a little travel thing of toothpaste, a little thing of deodorant. I do carry like a, Gold Bond baby powder type of thing
Yeah.
for my feet if they start getting rotten, which happens.
I was gonna say you said they were, so we know.
Oh, dude, my feet have all kinds of problems, bro. You know what I do for a living. But
That's
yeah,
intense.
baby powder goes a long way, man. You can use that for all kinds of things, dude.
Monkey
And
butt.
oh, dude, it saved literally saved my ass so many times. I can't even count. But the things you don't think about though, bug spray, sunscreen, like a toothpicks
Yeah.
save me all the time, man. Eye drops, your own medication, whatever you need, for
It
your meds, obviously.
Bug spray is a really good one to add here, and I'm gonna tie it in a weird way as well. One of the things I hate about bug spray is that some of the stuff once you put it on and you get in your sleeping bag, your
Oh, that's
sleeping bag
awful.
gets nasty. So to me, I try to think about like if I'm gonna hang out, I'll hang out and chill out and put bug spray on and eat dinner and hang out by the fire, and then I'm gonna go get a shower and then I'm going right to bed.
Yeah, yeah.
Just so I don't get the bug spray because I actually like we'll call it lotion. I feel like it's more effective than some
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
spray.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put that crap on and then get in the sleeping bag. And then I tend to put my t-shirt over my inflatable pillow when I'm camping, which also means that's the shirt I'm wearing the next day, which means now you've got bug spray all over your shirt. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad you said it about bug spray because that's like a huge thing. If you're camping, you're gonna
You
wish you had
you
it.
might try. I don't use. I work with chemicals. I mean, that's my business. I don't use DEET for
Yeah.
anything. I use a natural lemon eucalyptus
Okay.
bug spray. It works amazingly well. And you do feel a little bit. I know I 100% hear you on getting in your sleeping bag with all that junk on you. This
Yeah.
it's not as good as not having it on, but it's a million times better than spraying yourself with some
Yeah.
off deep woods tick removal
Right.
that'll melt your tent if you
No,
spray it on
100%.
there,
No, it's yeah. I'm
something
glad
for you to
said
try, dude. Yeah.
If I'm on a motorcycle trip, I'm usually going to skip shaving. I always think that's funny. I like looking at myself in the mirror when I come back. And so I'm like, yeah, we're a mountain man right now. But to me, it's definitely like borrow soap and a sandwich bag. Probably get I usually have a toothbrush cover thing. Do you cut your toothbrush in half?
I have one of those travel toothbrushes.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
essentially, it is half a toothbrush. That's the Graham
Yeah.
weenie thing I led with. Like some folks are pretty nuts about this stuff where everything's got to get
It's
chopped
more of
in
a
half.
pack it up smaller. It's more like a regular sized toothbrush is too long to fit in one of these travel bags,
Right.
dude. That's more what my problem. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit how much it weighs. I mean, it's more about that sort of situation,
How do you handle a towel?
I hate camp towels, dude. And but that's what I go with. So I do have like I can't remember who makes it. I got it from our buddy Ben over at Moto Camp Nerd, but
Yeah.
it's a microfiber towel. Look, it's not what I like drying off with, but it does it do the job? Yes. Is it like drying off with your nice luxury towel at home? Hell no, it's not. And
Yeah.
I never feel completely dried off with the thing, but I feel dried off enough, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
that
as
is a
good as I've
struggle.
been able to figure out.
Yeah, if you pack a towel, like it takes up as much space, if not more, than good rain gear does.
Oh,
So
yeah.
and then it's like, how do you dry a traditional towel? Do you put it by the fire in the morning when you're cooking breakfast to kind of dry it out? Like, how do you do that?
I throw my camp, so I'll take it. Look, I'm a 2 shower a day kind of guy. Like, I gotta have one in the morning, or I don't feel like I ever woke up properly. If I'm camping, whatever, I'll just dunk my head in a lake or whatever. But, and then I have to have one in the evening before I go to bed because I don't like having that grimy feeling on myself, right? So, for me, if I'm packing up all my stuff, the towel is one of the last things to go on the bike. And the whole time I'm packing, it's hanging over my front windshield or a clothesline or a tree or something in the sun, trying to get as much dry time as possible. And that generally does a pretty good job. It also folds into its own little mesh pocket, right? So
Nice.
if it needs a little extra time, I can put it on the outside of my luggage and let it, air dry a little bit more.
I'm
It's
looking
not
this
it's
up.
not flawless, but it works well.
Yeah, I'm looking this up now that you mentioned it. 'Cause there's some good ideas. I didn't know that existed, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, man.
You mentioned Walmart. I wanted to throw out there truck stops and dollar stores. Like you
I
can,
love them both.
yeah, you can do those stops sometimes on the way. Anybody who hangs out with me knows that you will catch me at a love station. It's kind of my thing.
You're
Just
more of a Loves guy than a Pilot guy.
100%.
You have Buc-ee's up there yet?
We do. Don't
They're
bring that up.
the worst. They're the worst. That's like the 7th level of hell.
Yeah, it's that's a mall, but also a gas station.
Yep.
But at truck stops, they need all that stuff. These guys live on the road, so anything you could possibly want is at, like you said, Pilot, Loves. Sheets isn't such a bad place, and if you're going any place
love me
remotely
Sheets.
touristy, there's a lot of places where you can pick a lot of that stuff up. So
By the way, they have showers at Loves and at
Yep.
Pilots. And actually, you wouldn't think so. They're pretty damn clean.
yeah. No, I mean that's the love station thing to me is the bathrooms are clean. Like
Yep.
that's the primary reason I'm there after gas. So hey,
Yep.
that's the place where if I got to take a seat, I got to take a seat. Now it's a good podcast. Electronics. How do you handle electronics for packing?
Man, I hate electronics because of this thing on a trip, dude. All of the freaking cables, man. Nothing. It seems like now it's getting a little
USB-C
bit
has
better.
started to make this smoother.
It has, but like I have to have a cable for my Cardo. I've got to have a cable for my phone. If I bring an iPad, which is maybe 50% of the time I'll bring my iPad with me, I got to have a cable for it. Luckily, it's the same cable as the phone, but if I want to charge them both at the same time, it's two cables still, right? Some guys want to charge their GPS, whatever. So there's some cables you got to bring. I have a little bag that Upshift and Timbermoto sells. That's actually it's a cool little bag made by a guy out in Idaho called D Mata or something. And I managed to put all my little cables in there. I wrap a little Velcro strap around each cable. Make sure you've got the little block, the charging block or whatever that plugs into the wall. But man, if I could find, I've never mastered, like the blocks are so bulky, man.
Yeah.
There's just, you can find a block that has a couple different ports in it now. So that's nice. Like Anchor makes some.
Yeah.
But generally I try to have that in an easy to reach location, like my tank bag that has some of this, actually some of the toiletries we were just talking about, like the hand sanitizer, the bug spray, the sunscreen. Generally it goes in there. Because I might need to charge my Cardo at lunch, or God forbid that thing won't make it through the whole day. That's generally I try to
battery.
totally, dude. I try to minimize the amount of electronics I got to deal with. I don't like having them. I don't like relying on them, but they are essential in this day and age. By the way, I also run my own business, so I have to have a whole separate cell phone for my business that I have to freaking deal with. So yeah, it's a pain in the ass to deal with that stuff. How do you deal with it?
There's a couple strategies here. So I don't keep my phone on the bike anymore, but when I did, it was convenient because that meant during the day my phone charged while it was being used. And then when I was done for the day, I would take my helmet comm off my helmet, put it in the tank bag and charge while I eat dinner, take a shower, all that other stuff. So then my comms are ready for the next day. If you're doing action cameras and stuff like that, then you gotta kind of stretch that schedule out more. Where are you gonna charge the comms in the morning? You gonna, like, if you're on the pavement, you can charge and ride at the same time, which I do a lot. Like, usually if I'm gonna go on a long ride with somebody else, I charge on the way there and I charge on the way home just to keep it going, because that way the battery's fresh when I show up. But if you're doing GoPros and stuff, you're in the same boat. You can charge GoPro batteries with a docking station and stuff like that in there. But if you have like a nice camera that runs on a special like Canon or Nikon charger, that gets into a whole new level of stuff. And I'm sure people can leave comments. I'm sure people have experienced this stuff and have good information here. But yeah, the other thing is if you buy a jump box, and this has paid off for me at the Scramble specifically.
Like you're talking about a little lithium ion battery charger the size of a pack of smokes or something like that.
No. like this kind of goes in the tool section, but it's relevant to electronics. A literal jump box, one of the newer, smaller ones. They are lithium batteries, but they come with a special jumper cables in case you need to jump your bike.
Yep. I have one of those. Yep.
But a lot of them now have USB ports in them.
Yep. And even flashlights on them.
Exactly. So you can actually take that to the camp at night and then charge all your phone and stuff overnight, then plug that in and charge it while you're riding.
That's what I do when I'm camping. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, when my buddy Rick busted out his jump box and we had no power because of the hurricane, like we all charged our phones at night for like 3 days, well, 2 days, whatever, like that. I was like,
They're
this is gangster.
now.
Yeah, so like I think that's the real move is buy a jump box, and you can use that around the camp and charge all that extra stuff at night and not sweat it, and then just charge your jump box when you're riding during the day.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I will take advantage of restaurants when we go in to eat and charge things at their actual plug in the wall.
Yeah.
Charge your charger. Like it always charges it faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, there's like with iPhones, you can buy. Dude, I'm not the technical wizard. I know to relay volts and wattage and all that, but you can have the fast charging block. Like, pay attention when you're buying a charging block and a charging cable, how many volts or whatever is that putting to your device?
Is it a 2 amp charging block or not? Yeah,
exactly.
Is the cable rated for 2 amps?
Yes.
If it's not, the iPhone, I bet the Android does too now, slows down the charging. So
correct, yeah. Like you can cut if I use the block that came with my iPhone, that thing will charge fully in like, I swear to God, it's like 30 minutes. It's not long at all. If I use just some random junk, charging block I've got somewhere else, that thing it'll take all day to charge it, know? So you got to pay attention to that sort of thing when you're buying one.
Yeah, that's always been my issues with electronics. So,
yep.
Weight savings is next. But before we do that, let's pay some bills here real quick. Real quick, let's have a quick shout out to our sponsor, Ride Northern Kentucky, the power sports hotspot in Walton. Whether you're looking for a classic Indian motorcycle, a thoroughbred Husqvarna or KTM, or the affordability of a Royal Enfield or Moto Morini, Ride Northern Kentucky has you covered. They're not just selling bikes, they're building lifelong relationships with the riding community. The general manager, Mike, isn't just some sales guy. He's also a certified mechanic. If you've missed his expert insights on episode 61, definitely go back and have a listen. Serving Northern Kentucky and Greater Cincinnati, you can call or text them 859-534-2240 or stop by the shop on Dixie Highway. Mention Moto Adventure Unscripted Podcast at the counter and snag a 15% off discount on parts and accessories between now and the end of April. Again, 859-534-2240. Now, back to the show. Weight savings techniques. So we've talked packing and all that other stuff. For you, what do you do to, we'll say, reduce crap or make the bike lighter, or other tips and tricks to not put the kitchen sink on the back of the bike?
Well, one thing I alluded to a little earlier was everything has to have 2 jobs when possible, right? So take your tools, for example. Like, I can't just have a tire lever. That's a tire lever. It's got to also be able to take off my axle bolt, right? My flashlight has got to double as, it's got to have a red light and a white light so I can see it in the at night without ruining my vision on the way to hit the pisser, or whether I need the actual full on bright light to actually work on something. Try to have everything be able to do multiple jobs. Does that make sense?
Oh no, to me that's 100% it. Like, I did a toolkit thing the other day, and it's like, hey, I've literally cut these wrenches in half and welded them together so that I don't have to bring extra wrenches. I have a box end wrench on either end, and it's the 2 sizes I need.
Yep.
So I'm not recommending everybody do that, but when you start getting nuts, that's what happens.
Let's get nuts. Heck yeah. I like that for sure. When it comes to camping, I mean, look, there's a fine line to be drawn. Like, when you talk about a gram weenie, and you're like, when you're counting every single gram, like, to quote Drew, know now, you are sacrificing something for that gram.
Yep.
So for every gram you're losing you're sacrificing something, whether it's durability, waterproofness, longevity. Something is being sacrificed. So you have to find that balancing act. For me, like my sleeping bag and my sleeping pad, they are more bulky than a lot of like dual sport guys would look at my sleeping bag and throw up in their helmets because it's just way too big, right? But to me, dude, if I don't sleep good at night,
right,
I'm screwed the next day. Like I've got to at least get my 4 hours of beauty sleep in that I'm used to getting at home, right? So tossing and turning and all that stuff, I've done everything I can to make sure that Ben has set me up with good gear, and luckily he understands like ratings of sleeping pads and all that good stuff. So I don't know.
I think that's a good point. For me, I have a one-man tent. I have an inflatable sleeping mattress, and I'm replacing probably both of those before I do any more major trips again. So I love my one-man tent. When you're on a dual sport, it's incredible. You can like strap it above the handlebars and all other stuff.
Very small.
The catch is that your luggage has to stay outside the tent. There's only enough room for you, the sleeping pad, mat, or whatever else is, your helmet and your boots.
Yep.
So everything else has to be in a waterproof container. It sits under the rainfly, but still, if it rains enough, it can get wet, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I'd rather have my gear in
Plus, there's zero room for activities, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you need to like make some morning coffee because it is raining in the morning, you do not have.
Right.
I'm with you. The one man tent on paper, it's like this is fantastic. Then you try it and you're like, eh.
Yeah. There's something about it for hiking and whatnot, but it's like when you put a pair of motorcycle boots and a helmet and you're trying not to like put your nasty feet all over your face mask or your boots and scratch your vent lens and all that stuff, it's a pain.
Yep.
And then sleeping mat's the other thing is that I have an inflatable sleeping mat, and it's more like a pool floaty than it is a sleeping mat.
Does it have like a little giraffe head at the beginning of it or whatever?
No, it was something cheap I bought off Amazon, and it worked. But like, I'm a side sleeper. Like, we're getting way in the weeds here. But right. It's not good for side sleeping, and then it doesn't. Your heat gets sucked away from you. So if it's a cold night, you freeze because there's no insulation.
The ground will pull it right out of you.
Exactly. So that's the catch about sleeping on air is that, the ground pulls the heat out. So you would really need to pack a ground cloth and some other stuff. So it's like, I'm going to do a two-man tent with a floor and then get a better partially inflatable sleeping mat. They make some nice ones now and spend the money on that because to me, it's the same way. And the other thing I wanted to throw into that, these light systems are nice when you're doing a through trip because you kind of have to carry everything with you all the time. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine like doing the Kentucky Adventure Tour and doing it all in one run. And it's like, I want a lightweight bike so we can do the hard sections, blah, blah, blah. But I'm more of a cloverleaf guy now. I'm going to go someplace and dump my crap. And then I'm going to spend the next day riding and having a good time. And then I'm going to spend the next day commuting. So I can pack more stuff because I'm not going to ride the hard stuff with it on there. I've just decided I like that better. So that's something that people should think about. We should have mentioned that, I guess, in the navigation planning session. It's like, hey, are you on this through trip, which you kind of mentioned?
I think we did mention this.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think we broke it down into that level. But to me, it's the cloverleaf is the move for the kind of riding I like to do because I'm now at an age where it's like I want to be comfortable at night. So there's that.
I actually really like through riding, but I hate breaking camp in the morning because everything's always wet.
Right.
I hate it. I have to shout out Ben, though, again at Moto Camp Nerd because you're talking about sleeping pads, and our ratings is what people need to look into for the heat rating. You guys, it makes the biggest difference to have a properly rated temperature rating for your sleeping bag, pad, for your pad and your bag that relate to each other. And Ben, like, he literally is a nerd about this. He has the most comprehensive scale on his website for pad ratings. So like seriously, if you're in the market for it, like go check that out so that you can understand what you're getting. You buy something cheap off eBay or Amazon, you may or may not win that battle. Exactly.
I'm attested to it.
And I've been there. I've been there too, dude. So check it out anyway. Shameless plug.
Yep. So we've talked about compact camping gear, multiple jobs, don't have duplicates. Scarf, towel, sun guards can sometimes do multiple jobs and stuff like that. Like a microfiber towel, though I'm not gonna shower with the one I use to wipe my visor. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah, that's not.
I've read notes about, and you mentioned this earlier. You can get travel containers the size you want, and then you can put your shower gel, whatever you normally use, into that container. So now you have smaller containers, but you have the stuff that you want. You don't have to carry it all with you. There's a conversation here, and I don't think we need to, because we have a whole luggage episode. I like soft luggage. It's, to me, arguably lighter. So if you're not worried about security, there's something to be said there. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention was, like, you want the weight as low as possible in between the axles. That's the goal.
Yep. I concur with all of that. I do think that it is silly to rehash the luggage episode. Yeah. So folks should go check that out. But yeah, I agree with what you're doing there. And I said too, like, I don't normally ride with a tank bag, but I will make an exception on a long trip because it's just handy to have easily accessible stuff. Sunglasses, hand sanitizer, chewing gum, snacks. I mean, I'll be riding down the road on a long trip and toss some gummy bears in my mouth just to get that bit of a spark of something going on. You know what I mean? So there's some extra things you can do as far as luggage that you might not normally do. Crash bar bags, you know, that sort of thing. Hydration bladder, by the way. Please don't forget about hydration.
No, that's a good one. I don't remember putting that in here, so we'll see if that comes up later. But yeah, definitely that.
It just came up now, Drew.
Do you test ride your bike packed before you leave?
No.
Winging it.
I don't have. First of all, look, I'm very busy. Not that I'm like a doctor or something is saving lives, but dude, I'm lucky just to get the trip in, bro. I'm literally sometimes, dude, I'm changing the flipping tires the night before the trip. I mean, that's not
guy.
the right. I am that guy.
That's the next section. We're about to get to that.
Yes, and I preach, don't be that guy, but I am that guy. Yeah. And I hate to be that guy. Trust me, it's a Fear and Loathing in Atlanta, GA. Yeah, right.
It's nerve-wracking.
It's just the reality of the situation, dude.
If you're doing a long trip, if you're doing a trip longer than a weekend, I recommend that you take a half day on the day before, and I recommend that you pack the bike and ride it to work in the condition that you expect to ride it on your trip. Yep. Even if you don't pack it with all the stuff because you're worried about it getting stolen or whatever else it is, stuff crap in there. Grab all the towels out of your bathroom, whatever it takes. Put all that stuff on there. Put heavy junk in the luggage if you have to, because the bike behaves so much differently. But if you can pack it like you're leaving, especially if you can leave Friday after work, that's definitely a thing to do, right? But to give you a chance to get used to it in the morning, because I've literally left for a trip in the rain and was like, oh my God, this bike is like damn near unrideable in its current condition. So riding it to work really tells you what's going to happen.
I think that's the move if you are a newcomer to this whole thing, which probably is who we're talking about in this episode. So yeah, if you've not done this before, get to know your suspension settings, get to understand what you add, like 2 clicks of preload to the shock of most motorcycles when you are putting on a bunch of shit on the back of the motorcycle that weighs considerable amount. That makes a big difference. Like, it really does. So very rarely are you going to be able to throw all this stuff on your bike and not add a couple clicks of preload. At the very least, add a few clicks of preload, right?
So I'm going to take that segue to number 7.
That's why I did that.
For departure. I like the way you did that.
I set you up. That was an alley-oop. We call that an alley-oop.
Rock solid.
Yep.
Yeah, if you've put a bunch of heavy stuff on the back of the bike especially, when you hear people talk about death wobbles and tank slappers and all that other stuff, this is a huge,
Janice.
There's a huge contributor to possibly having that happen. Again, similar situation. I had so much crap on the back of the bike. I touched the front brake in the rain and the front wheel just stopped. And I was lucky.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was lucky. I let go in time. It scared the hell out of me, but it was like, there's too much stuff on the back. You've got the weight all off center in a way that's not good. So it makes sense to ride that stuff. And then, yeah, look that up. Like, is there a setting in your manual that says when you have luggage or when you have a passenger, how much you should put on there? So it makes it makes a big difference. To if you make the front too light, bad things happen. So don't do that.
It's funny when you pack your car or truck for a trip and you just load all kinds of crap in it, it doesn't matter. When you pack a motorcycle, it's like packing a trailer. You ever seen somebody that doesn't know how to distribute weight on a trailer properly, and they get going down the interstate and the trailer is just whoosh, all left, right, all over the place? Motorcycle packing is very similar to that.
Yeah.
Like, you do have to consider, like Drew said, put the weight down low between the axles, as close to the center of the bike as you possibly can. These things make a big difference in how it handles, and how it handles is going to affect your enjoyment of this trip.
So how do you go over the bike before you go on a trip? Or do you?
I actually do. Yeah, this I do.
This I believe. Okay.
It may be the day before, Drew, but I do. I want to make sure everything's working properly, because I get precious little time these days to take trips like this. Tire pressure. I'm making damn sure my tires hold air. I check them the night before, and I check them the morning before, and I make sure that tire pressure hasn't changed at all. I start with that for sure. I actually do set my chain tension. I'm pretty slack on chain maintenance. Like, I'm not that great at it, and I don't really think it matters as much as most people think. But I do make sure that the chain is where the chain should be. The chain is clean. The chain is properly lubricated. I make sure that I actually start with a clean motorcycle. I will actually wash my bike before a trip and make sure that the bike is clean, so that once the trip is underway, I have some sort of a baseline on monitoring any potential leaks or issues, that sort of thing. Clean air filter. I should say that I generally, with the bikes I ride, I generally do toss a spare set of pre-filters or air filter in with that toolkit we were talking about before. Should have mentioned that. I didn't think about it. So I make sure I have a spare filter.
As he looks at the bike, and
I am looking at my bike, trying to think about what I got going on over there. I have not taken a trip on the Husky yet, so it's a little bit of a strange thing to think about. But those are really the places I think of. I make sure I have a good, strong battery. If my battery is reading anywhere into the questionable voltage range, I replace that joker. And, it's $100 or $200. Whatever, dude. It's not worth ruining my trip over a stupid battery. Right.
That's really good advice, and I don't think people think about that one. But so many rides have been goofed up over a stupid battery problem.
Yeah,
right?
dude.
And usually they've shown themselves a couple times, and then at some point you're on the side of the road going, that's why we had a hard time getting his bike started earlier today.
Yep. Well, it goes back to my clutch problem on my 950 in Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, my clutch was displaying symptoms of a failing clutch for 3 or 4 days. I just didn't have the experience or knowledge at the time to understand that that's what was happening, right? I thought it was stalling because of altitude and the carburetors weren't doing their thing, right? Because I didn't rejet it. By the way, jetting, if you're on a carbureted motorcycle, you should pay attention to jetting. If you're going to Colorado and you're going to ride at 30K, that's going to be different than when you're riding at sea level or 1,000 or 2,000 miles above sea level, or feet, pardon me, miles. That would be incredible. But, those are things to think about.
Yeah, you mentioned chain/belt condition. I also... It depends. If I'm going on a long trip, I might change the oil on the bike. I usually look at what's the next service interval? How far am I to it? And sometimes it's like, I'm just going to do it early. I don't want to stretch out where we're at now. I want to be fresh, kind of like you said about the battery.
It never hurts to change it more.
We've said it on the show. I think brake pads. It's amazing how a long trip makes the brake pad wear. Like, you feel like, because you don't ride a lot most of the time, so you're like, these brake pads are fine, and then. Rear brake pads. If you're riding off-road in a strange place, just pack an extra set, man. And make sure you can, change them. Like, I have to use a punch to get the brake pad pin off my Tenere. It's a pain in the ass. So make sure you have the stuff for that.
Yep.
Dual sport bikes especially, have you checked your coolant level lately to make sure that you didn't, boil it at some point? So that stuff's still good.
Yep.
Do you pack an extra headlight bulb?
I've never packed an extra
Okay.
headlight bulb. No, I feel like there's a way you can get around that if you have to.
I have a Triumph, been on a trip, lost a
Prince of
headlight.
Darkness.
It's one of those things, right? British bike. I know it's an older one. I'm sure the new ones are better.
I will give you a more modern problem with Triumph Electronics, though.
Go on.
My buddy Cushman had to replace the stupid ass little battery in his key fob for that bike, for the wireless start or whatever, keyless start, whatever you want to call it. We're in Ocala, Florida. Guess what? Guess what? The that little fob has little Allen bolts or whatever holding the fob together. Yeah, that's like not a normal size Allen. I didn't have one in my toolkit.
Yeah, it's like a 1.5 or something.
Yeah,
crazy
it
like
is
that,
a 1.5. You're exactly right. We had to ride to an AutoZone, and they were just when they found out what the Allen was, they were like, "You can just have it." they're like, nobody ever, literally ever in the history of this store being open has needed that. Just take it. So now guess what? He keeps one with him. You know what I mean? So you got to know your bike. Every bike has that little thing, and you're probably going to figure it out the hard way, like Cushman did with the 1.5 millimeter Allen, which I still don't know why in the hell Triumph did that, but they did. So
I'm of the mindset, especially if there's a major service near, to get that done. And then if you don't do it yourself, make sure you go back through and torque bolts. I'm saying if you don't already plan on doing it yourself, like there's something to be said for torquing bolts like axles and steering stems.
You're saying double
like
check a dealership's work?
Yeah, well, and then even your own, right? Like if you're doing the service yourself, don't skip that part. You're going on a long trip. And in the manual, it tells you to go through and torque all the bolts. And again, this is a Triumph story. I had the bolts get loosened on the sump of my Speedmaster from the factory, and that was my hard lesson. I was like, oh my God, my brand new bike is leaking. It's like, well, yeah, you got to put 10 Newton meters on those bolts every 6,000 miles because the vibration makes them back out, right? That's a thing, right?
Every 6,000 miles, I recommend doing that.
Yeah, it's in the service manual to double check all the torque stuff.
There are 38 bolts on that thing.
Yeah, it doesn't call that out in the manual specifically, other than it says check torque specs of bolts, and I didn't do it for 20,000 miles, and then all of a sudden there was oil in the bottom of the sump, and it was like, oh, maybe that would be why, because that bolt was loose.
Could be it. That could be it.
But this is something to think about. I'm not worried about. Well, I'm not saying don't worry about oil sump, but to me, it's really like if you've just changed tires or you've checked chain tension, like make a specific point to go through and double check that you tightened the axle nut all the way, and every now and then there'll be lock nuts or whatever else it is. Did you take the brake caliper off when you were changing tires for this trip or whatever else? I guess I should have said, do you put fresh tires on before the trip? That's something to think about. Changing a tire mid-trip is a pretty big pain in the ass as a guy who's done it. I spent all day at Wheelers at Deals Gap. I lost basically a whole day of riding because I was at Wheelers waiting, and there's a line. As soon as the sun comes up, there's already a line there.
Yeah.
So you're going to lose half a day's riding. Is it worth it when you could have just brought a brand new tire?
Those are definitely things to think about. I mean, be as prepared as you can. As much as we, preach being prepared for just a day ride, imagine if you're going for 7, 9, 10 days, the things that, just the simple things that you don't want to have go wrong. Make sure, every little thing works. Make sure your blinkers work. Make sure your freaking horn works, your headlight, like you said. I have had bikes. I haven't in a long time, but I've had bikes where I carry a little bit of oil.
Yeah.
I've had bikes where I carry, a little bit of, coolant. I mean, I had, on that 950, I had to do what they call the flap endectomy on the side of the road, where you cut a little piece of the gasket in the gas tank or gas cap, pardon me, to prevent it from boiling over. Be familiar with your bike. On the Husky, guess what? I didn't get a printed service manual, so there's one on my phone. Have a manual on your phone so that you can refer back to it if something does happen. In this day and age, there's no reason not to have access to that. It takes up no space. It's on your flipping phone. You have it anyway.
there's quite a few manuals out there that you can get for free off the internet.
Yeah.
Some of them are like foreign countries, so there's no English conversions. But if you own a metric bike, you don't need that most of the time anyway. So
Yep.
divide by 1.6.
Yep.
I was going to say, was there anything else about preparedness?
Probably, but I'm not prepared to talk about it.
No, you reminded me of something and it totally lost it. So it'll come back to me. That's fine. Food planning on the road. I'm sure you and I can careen out of control on this topic, but how do you normally handle food when you're doing a trip, sir?
I will pack my jet boil on a trip, and I will pack coffee because I have to have coffee. And I will pack like 2 or 3 of those like freeze dried meals. And those are emergency meals for me. Not in the terms of, oh my God, I'm going to die and I've been here for 3 days and I'm stranded, but more in the terms of we decided to camp early because we found a badass spot and we're not going to ride into town to get dinner or that sort of thing. So we've got food if we need it. Like, dude, you can do that on the cheap. I mean, we've bought ramen noodle packs.
Yeah.
That's what, 19 cents? In this economy, it's probably $3.40. And then like a flat pack of like tuna or salmon. I mean, you can do it super cheap. You just need to get some food, right? So those are my emergency supplies. Generally, if I'm camping, we'll try to stop in a town before dinner and actually pick up some real food, either at a restaurant or to bring back to camp to cook. If I'm on a through trip, I don't like stopping to cook at camp. It's just too much stuff to deal with. I'll try to stop and get dinner somewhere. If you're on a cloverleaf tour, especially if you did a truck and trailer situation, you've got a cast iron skillet and charcoal and all that.
Yeah, you're living the high life.
You are. That's a no-brainer, dude. But usually I'll try to support the local businesses in terms of meals. I don't eat breakfast normally. If I do, that's a bonus. Usually it's a cup of coffee and maybe like a granola bar or something like that. I'm generally set till lunchtime, so that simplifies things for me. But yeah, man, tortillas, like flour tortillas, you don't have to refrigerate them. They pack flat. You can dump any amount of things you want in there, and it's a great receptacle for your food to go into. So that's my hack, is get some tortillas. That's about how I handle it. Gas stations, I love a good gas station roll.
That's
roller food,
I'm totally living out of gas stations most of the time. And again, I'm primarily the day tripper, right? So for me, it really is like, all right, I'm at a gas station. They have food here. It's hot. I'm going to eat here because that means I don't have to stop anywhere else. I was already in here using the bathroom. It's hot food.
You're going to use the bathroom again?
Yeah, I generally have, Cliff bars, which are probably not the healthiest thing, but yes, usually, some kind of beef jerky or whatever else it is. It's kind of like on the bike, cashews, that kind of stuff. And you can buy those at gas stations someplace. They're not the cheapest. I like to go to like warehouse clubs, Costco, Sam's Club, buy a box of like cashews or peanuts or whatever it is, and then I throw a bunch of those on the bike so I have them somewhere, so I always have high protein meal in the event that I have to skip something somewhere, so I can get through and then it doesn't mess your brain up with the carb crash and stuff.
Absolutely.
But if you're clover leafing, to me it's like there's nothing better than staying at a campground that already has food, especially if I can get breakfast and dinner there. Then I'm like, I'm living large.
That's a no-brainer.
Iron Horse Lodge, Lago Linda Hideaway,
TWO.
There's a bunch of places.
Cher Hollow Mountain Campground.
Yeah, like you and I could do this all day, right?
And we're gonna. Just kidding.
But yeah, so having emergency snacks on the bike, and then to me, I like the hot food at the gas stations if I can get it. And then if you're cloverleafing, you can usually have a chance to catch lunch at some mom and pop place somewhere. Catch pizza or whatever else it is. That's generally how I like to do it. Apparently, I did have a note. This is the place where I said. Do you use a hydration pack or do you pack water bottles? Do you have a cup holder on your 901 yet?
No, I haven't got to that level yet. That was more popular when Husqvarna was owned by BMW to have a cup holder on there. Now that they're owned by KTM, I definitely have a hydration bladder, and I have a 3 liter bladder. So like you're running like a 1 liter, that just isn't enough, dude. Especially in summertime. So now I will stop and pick up like a giant bottle of water somewhere if I know that I'm gonna be boiling water later that day. You know, something like that. I will do that. But no, if I'm on a trip, I'm wearing a hydration bladder, and I've got water on it. You know,
Here before long, I'm going to get a Grail water purifier.
those are pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that eventually, and then I can get water anywhere. So it's a cost savings measure later. And if you use Gaia, there's actually a lot of springs and stuff that are actually marked on the map. So if you get a Grail, you could potentially use your Grail at the spring, clean the water up, make sure it's good, and then throw it in your hydration pack or whatever else it is.
That's cool too. That is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm pretty good at staying hydrated. Just again, I work outdoors, so I know what it's like to not have the water. I have had heat stroke before, and it's not something I ever want to have again.
No.
So anything we can do, liquid IVs. I'll carry our buddy Sam sent us those hydration
Correct
supplements.
hydration. Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct
yeah,
with a
yeah.
K.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I actually really like those things. So thanks, Sam. Shout out Sam and his wife for sending us those things. But they those little liquid IV or LMNT or Correct, like those sorts of like additives you can add to a bottle of water. Literally, you have to have a 16 ounce, which is a standard size bottle of water. Dump the thing in there, and I'm a believer. Liquid IV, but LMNT and those other ones, I like those quite a bit.
It's a big deal if you're on a strenuous ride toward the end of the day to make sure you get essentially salt, get electrolytes in your system. I used to pack a Gatorade. It was like I always have a Gatorade on the bike all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd have my bladder full all the time, but then always have a Gatorade. So when things start to go south or it's getting late in the day, it's like, okay, I need to hammer this at the gas station here before we move on to the next stop.
Well, bonus for the Gatorade, you can use that as a piss bottle in your tent at night.
Yes,
So
that
you
is a dual purpose. That's true.
That's a dual purpose situation, and that is more important than you think, because nothing is worse than having to pee in the middle of the night. And you always hear that one guy, if you're in a group situation, you hear the tent. First of all, you hear the sleeping bag, so you hear zip, and then you hear the tent zip, and then you hear the rain fly zip. And then you hear, him taking a piss right outside his tent. Yeah. And then you hear the whole thing situated backwards, right? So
you didn't hear any cussing
solves
there.
all that.
There's usually some cussing involved because they stepped on something or they tripped on a down guy on their tent.
Yeah.
There's always some piece of that that's involved. Yeah.
Totally, man.
100%.
Yep. So get yourself a Gatorade. I'll be honest, I like to have, when I get to camp, I like to have like a Coke or like a Mountain Dew or like something that's not good for you, that's just fizzy, that just feels good to drink, So I will try to make that stop at a gas station on the way back. Did everybody just see Drew yawn? I'm boring him with my.
It's weird that one hit me.
Dew.
That's funny how that works.
That's never happened. Actually,
I have not slept well lately, but that's not relevant to the podcast.
Well, you should call Ben from Moto Camp Nerd and get yourself a new sleeping pad, dude.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, I like to plan, if I can plan lunch stops at a scenic location, or I will just pack stuff and plan to eat somewhere. Like I've literally, me, I've taken chicken fingers from the gas station and just thrown them in the back of my hydration pack, and I'm like, I'm going to eat these wherever we finally get to someplace cool. When we finally stop, I'll eat those in 2 or 3 hours because I'm sure we'll be somewhere.
In the summer, my group will have little soft pack coolers strapped to the back seat, and we will literally have a lunch beer and a Subway sandwich or whatever at the river. I mean, that's the best, dude. That's the ultimate. You are living the life that our founding fathers wanted us to live when you're doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is funny. To this day, I remember lunch on Trail of Tears in North Carolina. So it is funny that I was like, yep, no. I just remember sitting there. There was like a it was a creek coming down the side of the mountain, literally, and they had a culvert, and so it was a corner of the road. And there I just by myself, middle of nowhere,
perfect,
Forest Service
dude.
road, just having a snack. Like, yep, this is the best lunch spot. So,
Heck yeah, I love that.
are you a hotel, motel, or camping person by choice? This is the lodging and camping considerations
Oh
section.
man, this is a tough one because I like them both, and I don't honestly have a preference. I said earlier that I hate breaking camp, and I really mean it.
Yeah.
I hate it. Setting up camp is fine. Like that's no problem. All that's fine. Breaking it sucks. I hate it. And so if we're on a trip that requires us to go through like a BDR every single night, man, I would really prefer to just hotel it.
Yeah.
To be honest, and if usually I'm with my brother on a trip like that, and we just split the hotel room. Dude, if you're staying in unless you're wilderness camping, it's a wash. I mean, we're not picky for hotels. Let me say that. I'm not staying in a $300 a night hotel room. I mean, I will stay in a $25 Red Roof Inn, no problem. So it's a wash as far as the cost goes. But they both have their bonuses. If we're clover leafing, I'll camp it every time. Like, because you can bring all the things, right? Everything. To me, that's going to dictate what I do. When we go out west, we kind of, for budgetary reasons, and also like there's some pretty cool places we want to camp. We'll go like half and half. So like we'll go like, let's go 2 or 3 days camping, and then let's get a hotel and let's use their laundry facilities. And like that's like an off day. Like we'll break early, we'll get to the hotel, we'll do laundry, we'll chill out, we'll maybe watch some TV or something for a little bit, something stupid, have a cold drink, let's walk to town. That's a huge benefit, walking into town and grabbing a beer or some dinner locally, something like that. So I don't have a preference. It depends on what I'm doing. What about you? What do you like?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I always think of, the Triumph Rally. We're staying at, what's the name of that place? Iron Horse Motorcycle
Iron
Lodge.
Horse, yep.
And it was cheap. And now it's probably not now, but back then it was like super affordable. Like you could split part of a cabin. You didn't even have to have the whole cabin. You could split part of a cabin with a friend of yours, have a shower, have a bathroom, and have 2 beds and air conditioning. And it didn't cost a whole lot. And so it's like, all right, there's tons of places to ride here. You can ride on road, you can ride off road. And so you could just basically cloverleaf for a week. So we would stay there.
And if it's raining, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've got a big day room. Like that place literally is like a resort for motorcyclists. So there's a lot of stuff to do when it's raining, because that is the catch, right? If you're camping and it rains, are you going to break camp in the rain? Are you going to put all your wet stuff on the bike and just ride to the next generation?
Worst.
Yeah, it is miserable, and it opens a bunch of questions, right? Like, is your tent going to be gross and moldy? Is it going to be soaked? Did you put it in a waterproof bag? Is it going to be wet inside and out when you get it out again tonight? Are you setting it up in the rain at the next location? Do you just sit in your tent all day and read a book? Do you wear your rain jacket and walk into town? And like where you're staying and camping matters quite a bit in that space.
That's why I like the flexibility of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of trip, because if the weather goes to crap, look, for 1 day I'll deal with it. For 3 days, god dang, dude, it gets pretty boring. It gets pretty boring.
I've said that when I'm in a space to do a long trip again, because I went to Deals Gap in so many tropical storms. Obviously, I've been Kentucky rain or shine for years as well. And it's like the next time I'm going on a week trip, I may literally just check the weather in like 4 different locations, and whichever one has the best weather is the direction I'm going in.
Been there.
And I'll make the plan, the day before, or the week before, whatever it is.
Yep.
I like the cloverleaf thing as well, because you can show up, set your camp up, get comfortable, go out and ride all the wild stuff the next day, come back to camp, spend the night, be comfortable, get a shower, whatever else it is. And the next morning, you don't have to be in a rush to break camp. You can wait till the sun comes out and dries the tent out before you put it away. And then you can run 200 miles down the road, 300 miles down the road, and it's not a big deal because you're mostly on the pavement at that point. So it's not the
Yeah.
same as, like you said, on a through trip, on road, off road, wet tent, all that stuff. That takes some work.
You know, the other thing to consider too is I have met some interesting characters staying at seedy motels over my life, man. I mean, I've met literal neo-Nazi skinheads at hotels. Like, as a matter of fact, in Corbin, Kentucky, like
Oh yeah,
they're
you told this story on Tales for the Road. This
oh,
is like the
dude.
recap episode for
It
everything we've done
was,
recently.
man. I mean, there's I could go on. Some of these stories I can't even tell on the air. They're
Yeah, I was
incriminating.
just saying
You know what I mean?
we gotta keep him Mark curtailed here.
Oh, dude, it's insane. So like, I don't know, man. Sometimes these small towns we go to, middle of the night, weird motel. There's some interesting things that happen. So, yeah, I don't think I can pick motels or camping. I really love them both, but I love weird people. So there's that.
Some things to think about, and you mentioned one of them already, is like weather. Like it's, plan to camp every night, and when a nasty storm comes in, then try to find some place to camp. You also mentioned earlier about how much time do you spend booking ahead. I can think of, if you book ahead, that kind of means you got to be there on a certain time, which means you have a place
Yeah.
to stay, but it does mean that if you're running behind schedule, that you end up skipping stuff that you wanted to do because you already paid for it, or you potentially put a deposit down and you may not be able to get it back, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Secure motorcycle parking, because we kind of talked about Iron Horse. They don't really have that there, but they have covered parking. I think at Topoco Lodge, that place almost has a garage. It's not quite, but it's pretty close to that.
Definitely
Right?
covered parking with power under it.
Yeah, and then if you're in a spot where you can park your bike where it's definitely under lights, so it's easy to see if somebody's poking around at your bike, you can talk about whether or not you can take the luggage inside with you at night if you camp somewhere. I think you talked about that on a previous episode as well.
And a lot of times you can park under that, like the check-in area at a hotel.
Yeah.
Usually 9 times out of 10, if you ask them,
Mm.
they're cool. Just stay out of the way of traffic. Like,
Yeah.
just don't impede the Gen Pop. Like, if
Yeah.
you stay out of Gen Pop's way, you'll be okay.
Yeah, you can usually park between the pillars as long as you're not blocking the walkway, because nobody can park there anyway but you.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it
Yep.
works out.
Yep.
Oh, ground floor rooms. So
Oh,
if
that's
you
a
can
great
get ground
one.
floor, then sometimes you can either walk out from the deck, like right out to the bike, and it's right there out the window so you can see
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Ultimately, if you're carrying your luggage in and out, it means you don't have to deal with elevators and stairs. So,
Dude, I almost every trip that we go on now, if we're staying in a motel, we look for motels with exterior access to the rooms rather than interior. Like, that's almost a deal breaker for us. Ground floor, exterior access to the rooms, so that you can just bring your gear right in. I've brought bikes into the room
yeah, I was
before.
waiting for that to come up.
Yep. I mean, it's happened. I mean, we've been there. I mean, I've worked on motorcycles in parking lots, like tore clutch covers off and fixed oil leaks and stuff. And so being able to walk right into the room rather than having to go in and deal with turns and elevators and all that crap, like, nah, I'll be right outside the room. Thank you very much.
Yep, I think that's lodging, safety, and risk management. As the guy who is flying by the seat of his pants most of the times, do you have any do's and don'ts in this section?
Well, I do. Yeah, I actually do, because even though I fly by the seat of my pants, I do have a kid and I do have a wife,
Yeah.
and I do have a mommy and a daddy that want to make sure I'm cool, And so there's things that that I want to do and that frankly you should do, just to
Yeah.
make sure everybody in your life knows that you're going to be fine, and that's to have some check-in points, to have some emergency contacts. In my phone, I have. I learned this from a paramedic, actually, to have ICE as one of the listings in my phone in case of emergency, and it has my wife in there. Just little things like that, just in case, things do go wrong. I do not have like an InReach messenger,
Yeah.
any of that kind of thing. I had one, I never used it, whatever. They
Do you
exist.
share routes / destinations? I imagine that's more difficult for you.
So I don't share that sort of thing, but I do have my wife can always see where I am through the Apple
Find
whatever
my
thing.
friends or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
exactly. On my iPhone, and I can always see where she is, and it's like it's funny, man, because people are like, certain guys will be like, "Oh man, she can see where you always are," and I'm like, "What's she gonna see that I'm at Quick Trip or like I mean, what are you kidding me?" So yeah, if something goes wrong, she can literally see where I am, like
Yep.
no problem. That's totally fine. So there's that. That's probably the number one way that she could, there's times even when I'm going on a day ride, Drew, that like she'll text me if it's just like I need him just to know this information
Oh yeah.
whenever he stops. If she calls me, it's generally like, hey, like he needs to know this information like right
Right now.
now.
Yeah.
Like my wife, I've been doing this a long time, dude. Like she knows. Like if she needs to get a hold of me, she's gonna call me and call me and call me, and eventually I'm gonna go, holy
Yeah.
shit, she's called me like 6 times, dude. Like something's going on. You know what I mean? I generally like to talk to my mom and dad a couple times a week, so I'll kind of touch base with them and let them know where we are. Usually I'm with my little brother, so he's my second. If it's not my wife, he's my secondary point of contact for emergency situations. But yeah, that's generally how I handle it. I mean, how do you handle that thing? I imagine you let your wife know where you're going and.
Yeah, and obviously, on the private side that's dramatically more complicated. But I do typically tell her which direction I'm headed and
Yep.
what the major gas stops are or what major cities. And then throughout the day, I typically text her that I'm getting gas at this place. And as we've said, I'm usually day tripping, so I'm doing these big long routes. So it's like, okay, I'm at the halfway point. All right,
Yep.
I got this gas station and 200 miles to go. Like, that's usually what's going on there.
Totally. Yeah, and I think having the respect of letting your loved one know where you are, like how many times you've probably been in the same situation I am because you actually like your wife and want to talk to your wife. Dude, I've been on trips before where I'm like, okay, we're back at camp. I'm gonna call Jen and just talk to her for 5 or 10 minutes, and friends are making fun of you, like, oh, you gotta check in you're with, and I'm like, no, I actually like talking to my wife and I want to let her know what happened today and that I made it alive. Dude, it goes a long way to going on these trips without your wife giving you a ration
Yeah,
of shit, you know?
we probably should do a couples therapy podcast at some
Oh,
point.
dude,
I
I'm
see
not
that
the
coming
guy.
up, like do's and don'ts as motorcyclists and motorcyclists involved in couples. Does your
Yeah.
wife ride? Does your significant other ride? Do they not ride? Things anyway.
Those are good ideas, honestly.
That's funny. From the safety and risk management section, I'm a pretty big nerd about the weather. I typically watch the weather pretty closely because
Same.
I'm not quite a cat like my buddy Craig, but I'm about 2 steps away from it. I'm to the point now where I hate being wet, so I like to know on the front end, do I need to pack rain gear? Didn't do that once last year and really paid the price for it.
I was trying to think about what you meant by being a cat. The
Cats don't
whole
like to
time
get
you
wet.
said that, and I was like, "What?" Now I got it. That's a
Cats
good
don't
one.
like to get. That's it. Something to think about is riding at night. I love riding at night, but it scares the crap out of me. That
100%.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a 50-50 thing. Like it really keeps you alert, but at the same time, the deer have gotten really bad up here anyway. So riding at night has its particular
It's
risks.
so intense though, man. It just makes everything. It makes your spidey senses tingle like nothing else, man.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
with you. I love it, but God, it's scary.
I should have brought this up on Tales from the Road. I've hit an oil slick in the dark before. That's terrifying. I'm lucky to
Yeah.
be alive after that. That's how scary that one was.
Wow.
Fatigue awareness, on road and off road. If you've been at it all day long, I mentioned in a recent podcast shortcut that endurance is not linear. It just
Yep.
falls off a cliff at some point. You've just reached the end of it, and it just takes a nosedive. That off road, especially, but that still happens even on road. If it's been a long trip, you get tired. That's not good. So you
Yeah.
need to make sure you've paid attention to that, and know what your limits are on the front end.
And that's why you throw your snacks in your bag and have some gummy bears along the way. And energy
Yeah.
drinks, by the way, not your friend.
Yeah, I was going to say coffee goes a long way, but it only goes so far. I think the biggest thing, and we should have probably mentioned this at some point before this, taking a big trip is fun, but it makes more sense to start with small trips first. If you've not done a week-long trip, do a weekend. Do
Yep.
2 or 3 days first. That way you kind of know where your energy level is and your endurance level and all that stuff is. To do a week-long trip, having not really done one before, maybe you like living wild like that, but it's probably better to work up to it for most people.
Yeah.
You mentioned the emergency contact stuff. Some folks, I had a note on here about travel insurance, roadside assistance. Obviously, we're required by law to have motorcycle insurance. I've got roadside assistance for the most part between that and my other insurance companies. But yeah, folks may want to think about that depending on where they are and who they're with.
Yeah, and you know that the InReach Mini that we've talked about before, one huge benefit of that is you can actually buy an insurance plan, an added insurance plan via the InReach Mini.
Okay.
So that's a thing as well. And going off memory here, so double check my facts, but you can actually add your riding buddy to that plan as well. So
that's cool.
Yeah, something to think about. If you're using an InReach Mini, make sure you understand that you can get extra insurance for things like the helicopter flight, blah, 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 that sort of thing.
No, that's awesome. Mental preparation and setting expectations. The last part here.
Oh, my favorite part, mental things.
To me, I think on the front end, as I can think of a particular trip on my way to Deals Gap again, was on the Tales from the Road episode. Things go wrong. It's inevitable. You're going to be right about 3 hours from home and you realize you forgot something pretty essential. That at a minimum, that's going to happen. Like, I didn't pack my pillow. I didn't bring socks, whatever, something stupid like that. But it's enough that you're like, son of a, we're going to have to stop, whatever. And it'll guarantee be something that you're the stickler about, that you forgot at the last minute when you were shutting the garage door.
I have to tell you that my father-in-law, whose name is also Mark, confusingly, he came up to go on a camping trip with us one time and forgot his flippin' tent. His tent.
Right.
So he grabbed the wrong bag. So after that, he infamously became known as Tentless Mark. And he couldn't live it down. I think he hates it. He hates it when that's brought up. But
now the internet knows.
It's Tentless Mark. There's Tentless Mark. Yeah, man. Yeah, got to make sure you bring your living quarters. It's important.
You kind of wing it and seem very comfortable as a person who just kind of goes with the flow. I am not that person. So my lesson to share with people is leave a little buffer, because some of my best memories from rides are those unplanned silly things. Good, my buddy Bill has convinced me to stop and took a drone video that I'm like, oh God, can we get going? That kind of stuff. And after the fact, I'm like, yep, that was the highlight of the whole trip. There's no doubt about it. So as a guy who's constantly on the run, don't overbook yourself, because you want things to happen as they happen, and it's worth it.
Those little things are what makes the entire trip worth doing, dude. And I feel like that's almost part of why I've gotten to the point of where I am, where I'm like, I'll just go. I'll go that way. And I think that's what you just said is partly why. Maybe subconsciously I've figured out there's so much structure to our daily lives. This is the one thing in life that we're allowed to just, again, it's cliche with motorcycles, but to be able to be completely free with everything that happens and take it in. And it's almost like the consequences of what happened during that trip, you're going to go back to work on Monday. Generally, unless something really bad happens, right? You're going to go back to work on Monday. You're going to go back to coach your son's little league team. You're going to go, punch the clock. All those things are going to happen. But in this small sliver of time, we can be completely free.
Yeah. No, absolutely that. Let's put it this way. At Blue Creek General Store, I'm there for the pizza. Unquestionably, you had a beautiful interaction with the locals that you will never forget. So this is tying into that comment that if you enjoy mixing it up with the locals or just saying stuff to people to see what they'll see, leave time for that as well.
Dude, the locals are what makes the whole thing happen. I mean, we've talked about it many times before. I mean, I've been invited into people's houses to eat dinner that I've never met before. It's so weird, but so amazing,
Yeah.
You get told all the secret roads, all the history of the land. I mean, sometimes you literally have to break away because they won't stop talking.
Yep. That's yeah, that's why I'm very hot and cold about it. That I have met amazing, wonderful people, and there are other times where I'm like, I've had this conversation with every person in the past month. Like, I get it, man.
Yep.
But good point though, because there is a road in Kentucky that I need to go ride. I was sitting eating chicken fingers in front of a gas station. Imagine that. And,
you like you some chicken fingers.
God,
You like, not only are you eating gas station food, you're eating the riskiest gas station food. That's what I like about you.
Hey man, I have been served food prepared by the government, and I'm dealing with the consequences. So there is that.
That's amazing.
Do you ever journal about any of your trips?
No, I don't. I will come back from a trip, and I will make notes about things that generally it's going to be roads or routes or points of interest or that sort of thing that I don't want to forget so that I can use them later on down the road. But no, I take a lot of photos on my trips. Like I'm a photo junkie, So that's one of the best things about Facebook is the memories.
Headed there. Yeah.
Were you? Okay. So
Kinda.
like I'll make an album on Facebook for a trip. If I'm going on a big trip, I have an album on Facebook. I'll upload my photos there, and then I get to live that again when that time comes up the next year and the next year and the next year. That's hands down my favorite part of Facebook. And so that's kind of how I see my journaling about it. But do I come back and write stuff down specifically about the trip? I do not. Do you do that?
Obviously, motoadventure.com was that originally.
Sure, yeah,
that was
good
the thing,
point,
is
yeah.
I was doing a lot of traveling and doing that. It's different now that it's micro tripping. I also would say Facebook Memories is cool because it does remind you of those. What I used to love most was Instagram is like a micro blog. And so I'm going to sell that to people like that. That is something that's kind of cool that you can do because you really do now have a record of it and your thoughts in the moment or within a couple days of it. So it's kind of cool to scroll back down and look at some of those old pictures and it's always there because people ask me stuff and I'm like, I used to be able to just scroll through Instagram really quick. But now because of video, it's
plus it's been there for a couple years now.
Yeah.
So you haven't been on Instagram for a year now. You've been on there for 5 years or whatever.
Yeah,
so you have to scroll and scroll and scroll.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's something to think about though. For a lot of people, it's nice to write down the thoughts, be it digital, keep notes to yourself, old school with paper and some other stuff. So like I said, I miss doing that on my website with big trips. I really enjoy that. That is another thing. It's another thing about time that if you are into that, and I recommend you do that, but that's the other thing. If you're with a big group, it does mean you have to have time to call the wife, the family, whatever else it is. Then you have to have time to sit in your tent by yourself. And that's more time that you have to set aside and think about. So
I would like to do the journaling thing. I just, you asked about reading a book earlier, and dude, I've got like 5 books on my nightstand that I've bought that I'm like, I would love to read this book. And then, I bought her, my wife bought me Ready Player One when the movie came out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to read this book. I'm not reading that book, dude. I mean, it's been there since the movie came out, It's, to have that sort of time just gets to be difficult. It's such a lame excuse, but it is the way that it is.
So let me recap that. So that's defining the trip vision, basically figuring out what kind of trip you're going to take. Route planning and navigation, finding intermediate sightseeing stops, essential toolkits and repair stuff, packing smart, which included clothing, toiletries, and electronics, weight savings techniques, motorcycle maintenance before departure. As I'm shuffling papers here, I'm sorry. Food planning on the road, lodging and camping considerations, safety and risk management, and then mental preparation. I want to do a quick shout out to everybody. Like, again, we appreciate everybody leaving comments on Spotify and some of the emails we've got lately. So that's been really awesome. obviously, if you're enjoying the show and if you made it this far, please do us a favor and share the show with your friends. Also, if you really love the show, you can leave us a tip on Buy Me Coffee. There's a link here in the show description. And shout out to Ride Northern Kentucky for sponsoring the show. Check out the links and the ad here and the episode. Any closing comments, sir?
Not for me. I hope that everybody gets out there, and this actually has kind of lit a fire under my ass to go, it's time to plan another trip. Like I need another real trip, dude. So yeah, we're sitting here talking about it, and I'm feeling motivated to get this done. So I hope everybody else kind of has the same feeling after listening to this. Good
Absolutely.
discussion.
Deal with that. Catch the listeners down the road.